This time we'll call the budget workshop to order. Looks like we have a quorum. The only one missing at this time is Ms. Hannum. So first thing I want to say is this is our second special called budget workshop for 24-25. Today we'll be hearing the remainder of the departments and their respective budget requests for the upcoming year. Anyone who hasn't presented to us personally will have a presentation and budget for you to review in your binder. As you know, there's already been a tremendous amount of work done by our finance department to prepare every department for what should be a balanced budget to be voted on by our commission. The budgets to be presented today are for information only, and as a reminder to anyone in the audience, let me say that this is a question and answer session for our budget committee members only. There will be an opportunity for public comment and questions at any of our regular budget committee meetings and at our budget committee public hearing to be held on June 10th at 5 p.m. Of course, anyone can ask any question at any time by calling any of us directly about our respective departments, or calling any of the elected officials directly and talk to them about their individual departments. Starting the day, which is just a ray of sunlight and ray of sunshine. Our beginning today is with Ms. Phyllis Crisp, our Register of Deeds. Push the button there. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming out and even in your retirement days and listening to our budget. And I'll be brief. As you guys know, I never ask for more than what I need. So with that in mind, I hope that y'all will consider my budget. What we do, we're a constitutional office established by the Tennessee State Legislature as custodian of legal documents pertaining to real property. These documents include warranty deeds, deeds of trust, releases, power of attorneys, liens, plats, restrictions, and other miscellaneous documents designated by state law to be recorded. We are a fee office that collects transfer taxes and mortgage taxes, assists the public, attorneys, realtors, and title companies inquiring about property. Accomplishments, again, along with the rest of the county, zero audit findings. We completed our scanning project with the U.S. Imaging, and want to thank our commissioners and everyone that had voted on getting that grant to be able to do this. This is really, it's going to save on our books, not having to have new books binded and all that. These documents from the early 1800s are now available to be viewed on our computers. Customers can purchase a subscription to view documents online through U.S. Title Search, and that's a vendor. We don't get any money for that. They just handle your attorneys and real estate agents are mainly the ones that use that service, and it saves them from having to come into the office. Prevent property fraud by using a free service, mylandalert.com. If you guys have not signed up for that, I advise you to do that. It's a free service through our vendor. You'll hear all the time on TV how people's properties getting stolen and all that. Well, this, if you was to get a mortgage on your house or sell your house or whatever, there's going to be an email that comes out and says, hey, something is going on with your property. So you can call in and say, hey, has something took place on my property? So please, if you haven't signed up for that, do it. We continue to actively stay within budget and always looking for ways to save taxpayers money. Our goal is to maximize access, accuracy, and performance of our system to assure the efficient transactions of business in the Register of Deeds office. Serving the citizens of Blount County is an honor and responsibility that I take very seriously. Our office seeks to provide the excellent customer service all citizens deserve and have become accustomed to. Our office is one that, if we don't have the answer, or if you're not in the right office, we don't just send you on a wild goose chase. We try to call around and check to see where you need to be, because so many times we hear, well, I've been transferred to this one, to that one. Well, we want to help you. We continue to index, back scan documents and certify those record books that have already been scanned. With the project that we had, they indexed, the company US Imaging, they indexed the documents, but they wasn't certified. That's for us to go back and do as we have time allotted for that. And once the document's certified, that states that, you know, there's no changes made, whatever. Budget trend, a lot of that is just where, you know, insurances went up, our employee raises, things like that. And that's my new budget for the year. And I appreciate your consideration. Do you have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Phyllis?
And I'd just like to say, you know, we're bringing in money. The majority of it goes to the state. I wish our organization could get some of our money back. As I've talked with the mayor, and I tried to talk to the Secretary of State, Trey Hargett. He was going to call me back concerning some money that the state gets that should be sent to us, our mortgage tax, but they continue to record documents that should be filtered to the registrar's office. So the county in all loses money to the state. We give them the majority of the money that comes in, but they continue to take money that should be filtered for our county. So when you're talking to your legislators and all, you know, take a look at what the state is getting versus our county.
All right. Phyllis, thank you very much, and thank you for the job that you and your department do. We really appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next up, data processing IT. Justin?
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Budget Committee, for taking your time out of your busy day. So I'm Justin McClure. I'm the IT Director for the county. A little bit about us. We're a department of 6 full-time staff that work for the county. We also have a supplemental staff that we use with a contractor with the Vero Advisors. And you can kind of see there some of the positions that we have and that we supplement with on an as-needed basis. So what we do, we advise and support all county departments. We support all the end users. We support infrastructure, which is your network and your servers. We actually manage 2 fiber networks throughout the county and 2 data centers with over 50 servers. And we actually do the networking, server infrastructure, and the cybersecurity management for not only the county, but also for the 911 center and now the city of Townsend. And then we also we have technology vendors that we manage as well. So some of our accomplishments that we had over the year, with your all's help, we were able to replace the data center, or both of our data centers, with new equipment. So that's going well. We've resolved over 1,700 support tickets with our small team. We connected the city of Townsend and their volunteer fire department to our high-speed fiber network, so now they're able to have better quality internet and also get down to the Spillman law enforcement software that they needed to get to and get some reports out of that. We've increased the redundancy and reliability of our IT services. So basically what that means is we've been working on separating basically our services versus our redundant services and putting both of those in both of our data centers. So we are in a pretty good spot to where if, heaven forbid, something happened to our other data center or something happened to the courthouse, we could lose one of the buildings and still offer all the same services we offer the entire county. And then we also continue to improve our security posture with cybersecurity and tools and that sort of thing. So some of our goals for this year, we want to refresh the county's phone system. We've had momentum for 6 to 7 years, I believe. We're looking at going with a Cisco phone system. That's actually going to be coming up to the budget committee and commission this month. But that will give us an improved feature set. It will give us more control than we have now with momentum. So we'll be able to support our clients better and also reduce the overall cost of what we're paying now. So along with that, we're going to continue to build and improve our department's ability to offer networking infrastructure and cybersecurity solutions. So we're kind of looking at, we've done well here, and with the mayor's help and with your all's help, been able to build out this system and this network and be able to offer these services. So we're looking and actually working with finance some to figure out, who are some other county departments can we offer these to, or county entities can we offer these to help save some money for the county in the long run. So we're working on that. And then I think we'd be remiss with all the new artificial intelligence things that are coming out if we didn't do some research and try to evaluate some ways that maybe artificial intelligence can help us in our county processes. So the only additional request I have is for a promotion for one of my help desk positions. This person has gone above and beyond and taken on additional roles than their actual just help desk position. I would like to move them up to a help desk 2 position. Not only does that give them a promotion, but it also helps us create a growth path for our employees. We got a great team, want to keep them all, and so we need to make sure we keep them growing. So that's just my request for that. And then here's the budget trend. You can see one of our biggest growths there is in operational expenses. That started going up in fiscal year 2022. This is when we started adding a lot of our new cyber technology. There was an increase in our email system cost, and a lot of that's just throughout the years has just been an increase in the services, for us. And that is all I have. If anybody have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Justin? I'll say this, from where we were when we began this journey to where we are now is light years ahead of technology and our technology and the ability to do so many more things with the technology we have. It's kind of ironic though that technology is something that you never really catch up to, because by the time you get to where it's at, it's past, it's already moved on. It's kind of like the carrot at the end of the stick, and the horse never gets to the you always know it's there and it's motivating you to move that way, but you really never do catch and say, okay, we're at the epitome of technology, because as soon as you say that, it's passed you by, and the reason I say that is because it's very expensive to chase it. It's very expensive to chase technology, and you all know what I'm talking about. Whenever we went from the old AS 400 or whatever we had to the beginning of this, it was millions and millions of dollars, and thank goodness that the commission saw the light and has been very supportive on all our departments, technology and improvements like that our departments have needed. And that's because if you ever get behind it, catching it is even more expensive. So, but Justin, thank you for the job you do, and thank you for the work your department does, because I can't believe we're already ready for a new phone system. This will be the third or fourth phone system since I've been here. So anyway, but thank you very much for everything that y'all do and the improvements that y'all make every day for our.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, Blount County Animal Center. Ron Crow.
All right, Mr. Mayor, members of the committee, good morning. I haven't met a few of you, so I'm Ron Crow. I'm the new director over at the Animal Center. Been there about 6 months now, kind of getting my feet wet, getting up to speed. So go ahead and go over this. All right, so what we do, as you're aware, we provide animal control services for all of unincorporated Blount County in a contract with the city of Louisville. We provide an open administration animal center where residents of the unincorporated areas of the county can surrender any stray or personally owned animals. We provide shelter, food, and basic medical attention for over 2,000 animals per fiscal year. Last year we tracked the highest we've been, and we're currently tracking this first quarter to break last year's record. So we see in year-over-year growth on intakes with the population increase. We provide free spay and neuter services for all cats and dogs in Blount County, regardless of incorporation through a grant from PetSafe. We maintain adoption of safe, healthy animals while meeting the definition of a no-kill center. And what that is a 90% live release rate from the center. So we get animals that come in medical needs, car accidents, aggression issues that we cannot adopt out. So 90% is the goal to be classified as that no-kill center. We provide spay and neuter services for all our adopted animals, even if they have to come back for that service after adoption. And then we provide 365 days a year care for the animals in the center and 365-day care animal control services for stray, dangerous, and injured animals within the county. And then we partner with the Friends of Blount County Animal Center, which is formerly SMACF, I'm more familiar with it in that standing. They provide the funding for our veterinarian and vet staff in the building, which puts us as one of a few centers in the area that actually have an on-staff vet member without having to contract out. So we partner with Amazon, Walmart, Second Harvest Food Bank, and so many more to provide donated food supplies to make a pet pantry at the center and provide food to keep animals in homes instead of in our facility with the current growth. And then we provide community involvement opportunities for students of Tennessee Promise, Community Service Hours, McKee Tyson, National Guard, Clayton Homes, Amazon, local colleges, and so many more to get their volunteer hours, community service hours, and things like that in the animal control facility. So, and we appear at schools and community events to educate the public about animal welfare and really push the spay-neuter aspects of it to try to get a control on the numbers. And we serve as a standard and work with other animal care and control agencies whenever possible. Right now, we're working with several other counties and other animal centers on their development of programs, their spay and neuter programs, as well as building layout, things like that. So we're highly looked on in the county, and that was a great foundation whenever I came in that I was able to inherit. And then we maintain a high professional standard with all licenses required for chemical capture, euthanasia, animal control, animal center, and vet facilities under Tennessee state law. Then in 23-24 accomplishments, we continue to meet those requirements of a no-kill center under the guidance of the Best Friends Society of America by maintaining that 90% or higher live release rate or adoption rate. We had 1,887 dogs and cats were adopted out or reunited with their owners in 2022. That's actually 2023, I'm sorry. And then increased hours of operations. One of the first things I did when I got there, I increased our hours till 5 p.m. to accommodate the motoring public and everybody that's working in the county to get to the center, have a couple extra hours in the evening to get there and make adoptions. And we've seen an increase in adoptions from the time frame of 3:30 to 5 now, obviously since it's new, but that's our highest adoption time frame. So we feel that's definitely working. just making ourselves available to the public a little more to get the animals out. And then we provide the special spay and neuter services to over 2,000 animals. Last year it was 2,112, according to DOC's records. And then we handled approximately 6,500 calls into the center through the front desk, routed through the front desk. And then we maintain the highest level of licensing available for our center, and we constantly provide and strive for the highest quality of care for the animals that we serve. So moving forward, obviously we're going to keep that 90% live release rate, adoption out rate, and try to improve on that. But we want to maintain our professional standard and care and serve as an example with other centers of what an animal center can be and should be whenever they come in. Initiate the expansion of a center through a collaborative effort with private partners, and that's going to be with the Friends of BCAC, public donations, and the county. Continue to maintain a high level of fiscal responsibility. We're trying to stay within budget parameters and haven't had to make any additional requests at this moment up until you're going to see here in a second. I'll have a few requests, but trying to maintain what we have with what we have, personnel, feed, things like that, working with SMACF and our private partners. And then decrease the average length of stay for dogs and cats by community awareness and events. Right now, our average length of stay for an animal is 50 days, and we're trying to get that down to 40 days. So we can have the same inflow of animals, but with a shorter length of stay, we'd have lower total numbers in the center. So our goal right now is to decrease the length of stay through public awareness and events. And then we want to continue to raise awareness for spay and neuter programs. We're starting that at schools, at middle schools and early high school, the 9th grade academies, things like that, trying to push the information as soon as possible for responsible pet ownership moving forward. And so the additional request, we have 3 additional requests. The first one here is for food and supplies. So SMACF, or the Friends of Blount County Animal Center, has reworked their MOU with the county. And part of that rework is limiting the amount of animal food and supplies. Currently, they carry approximately 50% of our animal control budget for food and supplies. They are removing that line item. And with our increase in animals, we still have to maintain feed for those animals, provide basic needs, specialty foods for ones on separate diets, things like that. So that's going to be a $30,000 ask, up from the $18,000 that we currently have. So it would go up to $30,000. And that's just to cover the shortfall from SMACF removing that line item out of their budget. Then we have an office assistant or adoption specialist up front that we're requesting. That's 1 full-time position. So currently we have the office supervisor, office manager up front, and she coordinates everything with the public as far as adoptions, drop-offs, public events, handling calls that come in, handling the public that walk in, as well as maintaining our purchase orders, ordering supplies, and following through with any other events, anything like that. We do rely on volunteers heavily in that center, so we have 11 paid staff and we have almost 200 registered volunteers. And so right now we have 1 paid member at the front desk as well as 3 volunteer staff. But some of the volunteers we're asking for up to 30 to 40 hours a week to maintain the call volume coming in and the adoptions coming in. So this position here would be specifically for an adoption specialist to work with local schools, local businesses, setting up events, coordinating the adoptions when they come in for the meet and greets, and taking that load off of the front desk. And that's a $55,134 ask. And then the second would be 2 part-time kennel operations assistants. With our year-over-year growth of 7%, we're seeing the burnout and the strain on the county employees in there. So in the back, we have 2 feeding and cleaning daily, and in the front, we have 2 feeding and cleaning daily on cats and dogs. So this would give us 1 additional person to move around. The problem with our current setup before this ask is if somebody takes off, is sick, or is on vacation, we have no other option but to call somebody in on overtime to meet the needs of the center. So this would give us another body within the building to help with laundry and feeding, and they can kind of float back and forth between the cattery and the kennels in the back to provide that extra care and need. And especially with the increased growth and the plan for the future to grow the center, we'll need the additional staff right now, as we're asking a lot from our volunteers. We're seeing a lot of compassion fatigue and burnout. things like that, and limited hours on our more traditional volunteers that were giving us 20, 30 hours a week or dropping down to 10, 15 hours a week. It's definitely hard on them to maintain their personal lives, their jobs, and then come to the center and volunteer as well. So we're limiting time off and trying to work with each other within the facility and pulling multiple roles. Somebody wants off at the front, I'll cover the front desk, which leaves my position open. Somebody in the cattery wants off, will pull from animal control, which leaves the field open. So it's a constant shell game that we're currently experiencing. And then, like I've hinted to, so the capital planning, we'd like to complete or get in the works an expansion of the animal center to facilitate and accommodate for the increase in current intakes. We're at record intakes numbers right now. That's never been seen before at the center. Currently today, leaving the center this morning, we had 68 large dogs and we only have 50 kennels. So we're double housing, we have the adoption rooms full of dogs, and we have our public bathrooms serving as kennels right now. So we're trying to get fosters, trying to move to other centers. We just don't have the room currently, and we're doing what we can with what we have. So we're having an average of 7% increase on animal intakes per year. And this vision plan includes adequate space allotments for approximately 10 years worth of growth under the current trends if it holds. And then the plans also incorporate features that allow future growth and expansion of the grounds with minimal structural modification. So it makes it easier in the future if we need to add on again at some point to do that as well. And then overcrowding has caused behavior issues, call it kennel crazy at the shelter there, in several animals, and is causing compassion fatigue on the staff. You can see the breakdown as they're doing the best they can with what they have, but a lot of the feedback I get from them is that they're just not making a difference anymore like they used to because I don't have that one-on-one time with the animals, or the animals are just constantly, we call it cage fighting, just with the overcrowded state that we're in. We have multiple animals in one kennel, and it's causing issues trying to find the right pairs to be housed together. So this request is to be determined. We're still working with Sparkman and Associates to get the final numbers and a couple of options presented as far as the building layout and expansions in different phases. Once we have that, we'll be coming back and make an official ask with the dollar amount. We just kind of wanted to put this on your radar, as I know you already are aware of it. So it's to expand the facilities and address overcrowding, animal stresses, disease outbreak, limited storage, and other population increases issues we're seeing at the center. Recently, we had an outbreak of disease in the cats, and we ended up having to use the entire front of the building and quarantine it off, limiting public access. We were using the education room, lobby, and the cattery to house the sick animals. So it'd be broken down, proposed, the majority of them look like a construction phase 1 and 2. On phase 1, it's going to be the bedding expansion. Reason that is front and center is Doc's staff and Doc's room back there is overworked. They're crowded. They're basically tripping over each other. But the main reason is the majority of the private funds raised were specifically earmarked for vetting. So with the private funds raised, we need to concentrate on the vetting expansion to meet that or to satisfy that grant. And then it would include a public lobby renovation. That's our front desk, lobby area, cattery expansion. And it would be doubling our capacity for the cattery. Puppy quarantine, right now we do not have a puppy quarantine. We crate them and we put them in a hall or we put them in the garage with a heater. And then animal control offices expansion. Currently animal control's office is being used as a medical room for some of our dogs that are very sick to kind of keep them isolated. So we'd like to have that quarantine and we'd like to have that vetting expansion to give them their office back. Storage right now, if you've been in the center, you see storage is kind of all over the center. It's in every room, every corner, donated goods, donated foods. To have one central location to place it, be organized and be more presentable to the public is the goal on that. And then public parking and the lot expansion, just to accommodate the flow of traffic that's coming in there. And then a new roof for the entire facility. Right now we have a couple of leaks that are being addressed, but at one point the entire roof is going to need to be addressed. And then phase 2, it looks like a large dog kennel extension, and that'd be adding 50 more kennels in a separate quarantine area and a dry storage extension. So for all the dry dog food, things like that, and it would give us a true quarantine for large dogs as well, since we can't mix large with small and vice versa with cats. And so currently we have $100,000 available in donated funds to the center. to use on this. We have $88,000 set aside for a new garage roof. That was approved this fiscal year, yet to be installed, and we're kind of hesitant on installing it because if we install it, use the money on it now, and then we have the expansion and they're having to rip the roof and do the expansion. Don't know if it would be appropriate use of funds to get that done. Then we have approximately $700,000, a little over $700,000 that the Friends of Blount County has raised for the center for the expansion project. And so, like I said, current operations, we're experiencing above capacity intakes, not efficient as we could be. It's causing a lot of inefficient routes for feeding and things like that, as it's not, as they're not housed where they should be. We're using multiple rooms for these animals. So impact if not funded, continued overcrowding, possibility of losing our no-kill shelter status, by definition, having to address the overcrowding issue. And then nationwide and locally, we've seen a decrease in adoptions and animal transports and an increase in owner surrenders due to housing issues. Our big intake right now, when we survey the ones dropping off animals, are apartment residents that are not allowed to have a dog or a cat over a certain poundage, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, which is causing a lot of family pets to end up in our center. Then there's the current trends on the budget with the center. Obviously with the pay raises and the increase in the food and everything like that, that's where we've seen the personnel expenses go up, but the operational expenses going up, as well as we see that continued intake and need for food, medical supplies, and housing. All right, and then there is the proposed budget. So any questions on that?
Anyone have questions? Ms. Hannah?
I was just wondering, where are you in the process of your proposed expansion?
Yes, ma'am. So right now we've been working with Sparkman Associates. They've presented one full set of prints for us as far as the expansion to address some of the growth issues. And they are currently working on 3 other options. That way we can come forward with multiple options, multiple build points, and price points. So they've given us rough drafts of the other 3s, but no associated cost. And then once they get it out to a professional estimator, we'll start that process. So the plans, all the core samples, the elevation studies, soil studies, all that have been done and paid for by the Friends of Blount County. And we're just waiting on the finalized plans and the professional estimates.
Thank you.
If I could expand on that, what we have been looking at and hovering at is a cost that was going to cost. It's pretty much doubled. And when where we were thinking we were going to be able to do this work, it's Ron, how much is it? It's actually doubled almost.
It did. It doubled. So
yeah, it went from 1.2 to 2 point.
So the original was 1.2, then it went to 1.8 in December, and then one of the most recent was 4.8 million.
4.8. Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll hear more about that when we start hearing from maintenance and general services here on what it's taken just to maintain these. But we heard it from the schools. You're going to hear it from general maintenance here too. But it's just like the animal center. I mean, the animal center's got a lot of moving parts out there, and it's just to keep that building up to standard. It is costing the increases, the percentage increases on these upkeeps on these buildings is absolutely climbing faster than anything that I've seen. All right, any other questions? You got a question? We built that, when I came here, it was a slab and had one little office and 2 offices. We put the walls, the roof, so it's about 13 years old. Oh, no. Everything that's been done was done when they built the building. No, it's a split face block with no pitch. It's pitch shingles. Yeah, pitch, and I think we do. The roof's got some. It's about reached. Don't we have some leaks?
Yes, we do. We have over our dry storage area. That's why storage is moved elsewhere.
You know, and this is questions we've been having. You would think with the spay and neuter program as active as it is here with our animal center, you would start seeing a decrease in all of these animals being turned in. But we're actually seeing an increase. I mean, it's, I don't know, when you go out there and you see them doubled up in the kennels, and I mean, and when we built that, I thought we would never fill that thing up, but it's packed right now. Go.
So comparable to other centers, I've only talked to Loudoun County and up in Knox at Young Williams there. So Young Williams intakes, from what I gathered from them, talking to one of the directors up there, it looks about 8,000 animals a year compared to our 2,000. They're running with 91 staff members versus the 10 or 11, including myself. But size-wise of the facility, they're about twice as large, and they have a dedicated adoption center that pulls the more adoptable dogs out and gives it the public face where they can go. But they're also running a very heavy spay-neuter campaign with the mobile units. They go out into neighborhoods with a large, like an RV-looking thing, and they do the mobile spay and neuters there, as well as working real close with UT. Loudoun County is a lot smaller, the center there, but per capita and stuff, it's probably fairly close. They're still trending up. Everybody around us is trending up and expanding buildings, Sevier County, everything. We're just seeing that growth everywhere. And a lot of it, like I mentioned, it's housing, and it's hard to see the families having to surrender their animals at the front there as they're tearing up and crying and dropping them off because they're not allowed to have a certain size within the apartment complex. And that, definitely seeing that trend, and we're right on par and right on track with all the other centers as far as growth.
You know, since we started our animal center, and once we completed it and got it up and running, it's kind of been the starship on when other counties have tried to build animal centers. They say go CTAS, and some of them will say go look how Blount County did it, and that's a success story. And I talked to a lot of mayors, and a lot of mayors don't want any part of having animal center, having animal control. So they let the Humane Society do it. The Smacky, they let them run. Like Young Williams is not ran by the government over there. It's a private foundation that they give some money to, but it's actually done with fundraisers. But for a government to have a animal center and it be a totally functioning under the government with the partnership of SMAC-F is really unusual. You don't see that across the state that often. And I think since there's two counties that border us that since I've been here, they've had animal centers in 3 different locations ran by 3 different groups. They've built it up, started it, and it just go all. There's a lot of emotion in an animal center. There's a lot of, sometimes it's hard to maintain the stability there because of all the emotion with the animals and everything, and yet keeping your focus on what your priority is, and that's taking care of those animals and providing the homes and getting them off the streets and everything. It can actually overwhelm you sometimes to get it run.
Can. So, and we try to watch that and address it and use county services for the compassion fatigue and everything. You can see it in the employees and a lot of volunteers too. We refer them as well.
Our volunteers are very important to us.
Yes.
I mean, it's.
What percentage of animals are picked up by a person in the field in a truck because somebody's complained on it or whatever that's running loose, feral, I guess, compared to surrendered on site?
Okay. So roughly animal control brings in 20% of our animals into the center. Owner surrenders accounts for about 20%, and then 60% is strays that motoring public find on the side of the road, or somebody's dropped it off in their yard or something like that. So animal control is roughly 20, and then 60% of the strays come in via individual citizens or people passing through on vacation, finding them on the side of the road.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Anything? Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Next up, county building maintenance.
Thank y'all. My name's Don Stallions. I'm the Director of General Services. Before I get started, when I was putting this budget together, I just want to say something. I've been working for the county for 22 years. And when I walked in this building 22 years ago, if you had told me that we would be where we are now, doing the things we are now, at the level that we're doing at, I would have said you're crazy. And I think sometimes when we get caught up in our moving forward, we forget to look back. And when I'm doing the budget, it makes me think of that. And I wanted to say thank you to the committee for approving and trusting us, to the finance department for you all's openness and working with us, but most of all to Mayor Mitchell. Mayor, your leadership has got us where we are, and your willingness to think outside the box, to push us, not just to be as good as everybody, but better. And it makes me extremely and incredibly proud to be part of your administration. So I think as we go looking forward, sometimes we need to realize what we've done and where we're at, and it's pretty amazing to me. And I'll talk about some of those things. So what we do, we're really, and I'll go through real quick, but we're really, General Services is 4 departments: risk management, maintenance and custodial, records management, and then also our emergency medical services system overseeing that. Risk management, Tim Tipton is the risk manager. We handle for all county offices, including schools. We handle the workers' comp, general liability, safety programs, and then the majority of the electronic security, the card access and the camera systems. Maintenance, custodial, Deanie Garner is our facility supervisor. Chad Wasman is our custodial supervisor. They got about 500,000 square feet that they maintain and clean. And we also manage large projects such as roofs and some of the other things that are going on. Records Archives, that's Amanda Touchstone. She handles all the county records and also oversees our information request system. And then the Emergency Medical Services System, Dr. Ben Rose, our county medical director. He oversees the protocols that the medical first responders in the county, how they respond, also works with how dispatch triages calls, and also goes through on our contract with AMR, goes through the calls and makes sure that they're compliant with their treatment. And we'll talk a little bit more here in a minute about how he does that. Accomplishments for this year, our workers' comp was recognized by the state of Tennessee. We got the reward honor roll. That's for our return to work program. To get that, our staff had to work pretty hard, not only our staff, but other department heads and elected officials. That's where we submit to the state to get people back to work quicker when they're injured. And there's some, what used to be called light duty, which kind of had a negative connotation with it. But studies show that the quicker you get somebody back to work, the quicker they recover and the more productive they are. So the state recognized our program as one of the best in the state. We've renovated the 4th floor bathrooms on the 1974 side of the building. If you don't have a chance, take a look at them. They look fantastic. These bathrooms were not touched since they were installed. So it's a new tile, beautiful colors. We've got the one thing I'm excited about, obviously, the stalls are modern stalls, so they're hanging from the ceiling, so we can get in and clean them. Our cleaning crew can get in and clean them easier. You don't have crevices that get nasty. So we're real proud of these new bathrooms. There's some other things. We've moved the HVAC units we needed to for a long time from probation recovery. The new open records software has been implemented and running well. The APCO card system has been improved for call triaging. APCO card system is what 911. when you call and they say, what's your emergency? And you say, well, I'm feeling dizzy. And they'll say, well, they'll start asking you questions. That's off of a card. And so that's how they triage that call. And so there are triggers on there. So if you say, well, I've got tightness of chest and I'm having trouble breathing, that's going to automatically signal they're going to start dispatching emergency service, what priority, how fast they're coming to you. Those cards hadn't been updated until we took over the program, and under the new contract, the APCO cards were different that AMR was using, than dispatch was using. So Dr. Rowe worked really hard with all the parties involved and got those taken care of. The other thing too is it was calling over triaging of calls. So our fire departments, our first responders, were being overtasked with running emergency calls that may not require emergency response. So that's been a rounding success, and I think that's helped out a lot. I know it's helped out a lot. These are some projects that we have underway and expect to complete this year. Our building automation system, that's our train system. We're putting in a new system, control our HVAC units. We're in the process of putting the roof on the probation recovery court. Thank you all for that. That roof, we were having computers damaged from leaks. We had patched it and patched it and patched it. That's being done. You can see some of the other upgrades there, which is what we had asked for capital expense from last year, and we continue to put those in place. I've got a little star by the courthouse fire escape and handrail replacement, and that we're having trouble getting quotes, and that's something that we're running into is getting quotes and getting people that want to do business with the county. We have a strong economy in Blount County. One of the downsides of that is people having time and able to get quotes to us. So one thing that we've had to watch is if when we want to get a quote so we know how much it's going to be, people want to make sure we're going to do it before they'll come in and invest the time to give us a quote. And also they don't have the time to come give quotes when they're pretty sure they're not going to get a job. So working through that in this new economy has been a little difficult for us. Some of the goals: really need to replace the plumbing on the 1956 side of the building. That's galvanized piping. It crumbles when we touch it. They were working on it this morning. We're one pipe burst away from shutting it down completely. We've got sleeves on sleeves attached to sleeves to keep it running. That really needs to be replaced. So that's our big ask. It's going to be a huge project. If you look in the capital plan, I think we're a little over $300,000 is what we've asked for that. It's going to probably be more than that. As Mayor Mitchell was saying earlier, the cost that we're seeing on stuff doubling is crazy, but the costs are going up. I mean, you go back to the roof on the probation center, I think we started out at, $200,000, then $300,000, then $500,000. So I mean, we're seeing these big jumps, but that's what things are costing. The other thing that we really want to do, so we've got a lot of software that goes throughout our different departments that we have in our general services. And while these softwares are up and running, we want to dive into more of what they can do for us. The first two there, two Vigilons, that's what runs our card access and our camera systems. Vigilon's owned by Motorola. They've got some new updates, some that are free, some that have a small cost to them, that combine those two, make those a lot easier to do, give us a lot more options in using the system. The Gordian VFA, that's the software that we run for our building maintenance. And they came in and they did a full report. They took a look at our building, gave us a report, and then they put that into a software. How we're using that now is we're using that to number one, to check on when we ask you all for something on a capital expense. But number two is to allocate our daily resources. So I actually generate, when it says this needs to be done, we can actually print those tickets off. I give those to Denny, he gives those to the guys, they come back, mark the ticket complete, and then we file it. So we're using that for allocation, and we're using it. Now, there's some things in there that, the acoustic tiles, the ACT system, acoustic ceiling tiles. you know, it'll say, okay, that's timed out, that's 5 years old, you need to replace that whole system, it's $500,000. Well, we don't do that. We replace as needed. You know, it's like you'll hear people talking about going to LED lights and what that costs and everything. We're almost 100% on LED lighting, but we did that by working that in. I mean, when we had a light that went bad, we put new lights in. So we were able to do these projects within the constraints of our normal operating budget. And so there's some projects that are in there that we've taken care of over time instead of coming to you and say, hey, I need $500,000 to replace ceiling tiles. First watch, first pass, that's what we use for the our AMR contract. First watch lets me get in, look at what times the units got there, the ambulance got there, make sure that they're in compliance. First pass is what Dr. Rowe uses to actually go in and make sure that the treatment that was, the clinical treatment that was done on scene was to the protocols and was done what he thinks it should be. And then I talked about the BAS system, that's what controls our HVAC system. And Target Solutions, that's one of the things that we've also been able to do. That is a program that we can push out. The state requires 6 hours of training for all emergency medical services personnel. Until now, it was kind of left up, especially when you get to the smaller departments, the smaller volunteer departments, up to the chief on what he called training. Now Dr. O can say, these are the classes they have to have. We push it out to those fire departments, and then we can also see when they have everything completed. I do have 2 capital requests, additions that I would like, and that's $100,000 for the courthouse and $100,000 for the library to pressure wash and seal. Now, strangely enough, on the VFA, on their report, it did say we needed to do that at the library. It did not mention the courthouse, but we believe both. We've not really noticed too much water intrusion on the courthouse, but we believe some of the problem with water intrusion that we're having at the library will be solved by sealing the brick. We think some of it is saturation, is what's causing some of the seepage. That's the risk management department. I think a lot of these are self-explanatory. For the county buildings, I did want to hit on this. If you look at that, our pays increased roughly 200,000, and then our operations looks like we've dropped 200,000. That's not an accurate picture. What that is we took over the maintenance for the library, and we took over their employees. How they account for that in accounting with the library and the chargeback skews those numbers. So actually those lines should be flatter, but that's just an accounting measure on how they charge back the library. So there's any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Don? Ms. Hannum?
Hi, Don. Now, you know what number 1 question is coming is our preventive maintenance schedule that you've been working on. When you were talking about your software updates and so on and so forth, I was excited to hear that, but I didn't really hear what all that includes, particularly with your Gordian VFA. Does that also include the ability to pre-schedule preventive maintenance is what I'm after?
Right, so right now, what we use for preventive maintenance, some of it's contracts. So quick example, ice machine, right? We're on a contract now where they'll come in and work on the ice machine. Our HVAC systems, we have our own, we barcoded everything and we track that. And so that reminds us on what needs to be done as far as changing out filters and repairing everything. We have not transitioned that to VFA. I feel like our major systems, we're keeping track really well right now on preventative maintenance. However, that's probably something when I talk about digging further into the capabilities of the program. If we could one day wind up on one program, that's probably our goal. But so right now, it's a mixture of either we just pay people to do it and we're on their schedule and they come every so often to do it, or we have an internal software that we're using, and then some of the stuff is we just schedule it ourselves and take care of it.
One of the things that tends to bite us continually is better. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot better than it had been, but major systems such as HVAC, roofs, plumbing, all of those kinds of things consistently bite us because we're not tracking them and doing preventive maintenance ahead of time. We run to failure and then react and respond, which costs us more. So I just want to go on record again, for probably the 10th year, we got to get there.
We are, and we have a dedicated, so when you mention those systems, probably that most vulnerable system is going to be the HVAC. That controls your climate, that's going to add to even other systems breaking down. So one of the things that we do, we have on staff an HVAC trained individual who his primary job is upkeep of these systems. And he knows each of these systems. He's the one that cleans the coils, he's the one that changes the filters and does minor repairs. Now, when it becomes more complicated repairs, we do have that outsourced. So on a preventative maintenance schedule, I'm feeling really good with our HVAC systems. That's where we spend a lot of time at. And like I said, each one of those has a barcode on it. They scan it. They know when they worked on it. They know when they touched it, and they can see what needs to be touched and what needs to be changed next. So we are tracking the HVAC stuff. We are doing preventive maintenance on that.
We got one person for all of these county buildings, including schools, library, health department?
We're separate from schools. Yeah. We tried to do the school thing and it didn't, they never did really accept the one. I don't think they wanted me to be over the schools maintenance. So we did separate that. He has 11 buildings and about 500,000 square feet. No?
Yeah, I have 500,000 square feet.
Yeah, we have 11 buildings and 500,000 square feet.
In 2 major buildings, right? I mean, well, 3, library, courthouse, and the Justice Center.
Health department? Do you have the health department?
We do have the health department, but it's along the size of, you have the health department and you have probation office, animal center, you have these smaller entities, but every one of them we take care of. And we're busy. I mean, there's no doubt we're busy, but we've got a good crew now. And so Hunter Jones is our HVAC tech. And like I said, now, if it's something big, we bring in Premier. They're the ones that we have a contract with.
Okay.
Any other questions? Don, thank you very much. Appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Next up, we got Election Commission. And our first time up, Mo Click.
First time up and 5 days on the new job. How about this? And first person I've got to thank is the mayor. Third day on the job, Wednesday. I'm here early in the morning and I got a million things going through my head. And I dropped my keys in the floorboard of the car, locked my car, and I'm standing out in the sally port with no way to get into the office. So, and the mayor came through and he was kind enough to give me a donut and promised not to put me in the newsletter. So thank you. That's the first thing. Hey, and thank you very much. My name is Mo Click. I got here, I started here in 2018. I was a poll worker in the past. And in 2018, I was working early voting when early voting was down in our office. And Susan at that time had some upset in the office and whatnot. And right after early voting was over, I walked into her office and said, hey, I'd be happy to help you for the next 3 or 4 months. And strangely enough, some people say strangely enough, I've actually enjoyed this very much. And almost 6 years later, I'm still here and now I have more duties. So there we go. When I started, matter of fact, let's see here. All right. So what do? Basically, there you go. We plan and execute the local, state, and federal elections. Our voter registration and maintenance is another thing that we do. Today, matter of fact, ran those numbers this morning, 95,515 voters. That's when I got here in 2018, there were roughly 80. So that tells you about roughly 15,000. We've had the voter increase. Poll workers is a big part of this process. Administering the candidate petition process, which just ended yesterday. Our deadline was yesterday for the August election. Verifying balloting, working with GIS to coordinate that the balloting and voter registration you're getting the right ballot when you go to the polls. Promoting the electoral process and basically following the laws. Our accomplishments, we ran a successful March presidential primary, which involved converting the voting machines to which require the new paper audit trail, and you all know how you had to scan your ballot or your voting record at the end of the day. So which caused us increased training to the poll workers for the new equipment and new responsibilities, and basically keeping the voter rolls and the list maintenance procedures, which have gotten more complicated and much better in dealing with that number of voters. Our goals for the upcoming year, hey, we want a successful presidential election cycle coming up in November, and we're going to have a record-breaking Blount County voter turnout. Continual replacement of aging and non-technological poll worker staff. One of our goals at Forward Thinking is we really want to move forward with the convenience voting centers as we get into 2026. And we want to explore some additional space options too. That's as we move forward. But bottom line, we need to execute a successful election coming here for November. Now, as I get to our additional requests for 24, 25, what I want to do is I want to skip ahead. They're all priority, I want to go to priority basically number 1. And I think a lot of you have heard this in the past from Susan recently. Priority number 1, our early voting poll workers, who really are our key people, have not had their pay scale, which is $10 an hour for the poll workers, $12 an hour for the officer in charge of the early voting precinct. And again, this is the early voting that we're talking about, that 2-week period before the election of early voting. They've not had a raise since we go back to 2010, and I'm told it may have been 2006 when this was implemented. So we know that since at least 2010, that $10, $12 pay scale has been there. We need to bump that up, and it's not on the, as I look at that, it's not on the slide, but we would like to take that to $15, $18 for the officer in charge, $15, $18. We got an aging poll worker staff, and that's just the way it is. When we're talking about recruiting young poll workers, a young poll worker is in his or her 40s or 50s. And if we get anybody any younger than that, you can see the need for that pay scale is pretty critical. March has magnified this. We've seen this in March because now we've gone to the new paper audit trail system, okay? Added responsibility for the poll workers, added training. It's a whole lot more to train those folks, and it's a little more complicated. It's more responsibility, and this is only going to increase as we get new rules, whatever comes down the pike. There's increased scrutiny on those people, and there's quite a bit of stress involved with that at times as this goes along. And there will only be more scrutiny and stress as we get into November. And again, those are our key people. That's our number 1 priority here. Let me go back. Number 2, well, and added to that, the additional request is basically to increase that training, since we're keeping people here for training it's gone from an hour and a half to almost 3 hours worth of training, and by law, we have to do that before every election. And so we just like to increase that training, kind of goes along with from 25 to 30 an hour. So now, let me go back. Our other additional request as we move forward, when I got here, we would like to increase our staff to 4 full-time people. Okay, when I got here and I started in 2018, there were basically 3.75. We had a part-time person that was the the part-time person went straight up to that mark of 30, right below 30 hours a week. So we were working with the administrator and 3.75 full-time people. Right now we're at 3. And I gave you the voting numbers, which is part of the equation. The increased responsibility is the other part of the equation, but part of the equation is that you've gone from 80,000 to 95,000 plus voters on the roll. I would suspect that we're going to creep toward that 100,000 mark even by November. So the increase in numbers of registered voters is significant. And basically bottom line is we're kind of on the low end of if you compare to the different offices around the state, we're kind of on the low end of the totem pole with the numbers of voters that we have. So we would certainly like to increase that. What happened to us is, and again, I can't go into, don't know the whole details, but we basically had that approved a couple of years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago, and we lost it without realizing that we had to fill it or we lose it. Okay, so we go along what happened to when COVID hit, bottom line, we're going with 3. COVID hits, it's kind of like a perfect storm in November of 2020. We were able to get, with the increased things that happened during the presidential election and the COVID year, which we believe we're going to see a lot of increased need for people as we get into with the things like added absentee ballots and whatnot. Forgive me, my brain kind of skips around, so I hope you're following what I'm trying to tell you. Bottom line is we're in need of those persons. In the COVID year, we brought in that November, we brought in temporary workers. We brought in roughly 6 temporary workers, and they spent about 6 weeks with us just processing absentee ballots through November to add to our staff. Perfect storm. We had COVID, we had people out of work. We knew we had quality people that we could bring in. We just can't bring in people, off the street and train them to do certain things. We had poll workers, we had people who were out of work, and we could do that. When we got into the next cycle, once we started to fill that position, we were close to an election cycle, and we couldn't bring in somebody to train them. So that's a bottom line. We had that position, we lost it, and we'd like to get it back again. Going from my basic point, we've gone from 3.75 when I started 6 years ago. We got 3 now. We'd like to go to 4. And there's your. And the other thing that we know when when I'm talking about added workloads, one of the things that we know we're going to face added duties in August and November. But August and November, we're going to get audited by the state. That we're going to make sure our paper trail works, which is going to have increased duties, increased things that go on. We don't know at what level we're going to be audited, but we know we're going to be audited. So that's going to be a lot of extra responsibilities. And just also now, I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Well, you see the cyclical nature of what we do from election year to non-election year. The bottom, the blue line there, the bump up in that fiscal year 22, as we look at that was more related to computer security technology, things that we had to do to get things where we needed to be, where we were mandated to be. And I'll open it up to any questions. I hope you followed all that, and I open it up to questions that you have.
I got any questions for Mo?
I do. How did the new paper system work first time using it in March?
It worked really well. We had, I think we had a good, successful run with it. Again, some of our poll workers are intimidated by that kind of thing. And you have things when you're printing the voting record, you'll have one that won't print right. You'll have a scan that jams and those kind of things. And people will panic in the moment. But not knowing what we're going to face and knowing those kind of things are going to happen, we're really pleased with how it went. Able to solve any issues like that and whatnot.
Did your paper votes balance with your machine votes?
Paper
balance?
Yeah, we're as we do that, when I go like for example, we go out to the school system, we go to somebody explain what we do, we're talking about, we're trying to balance the county's checkbook to the penny, and we're pretty dang close. I mean, you get into, obviously, human error you can't avoid. There's going to be a human error here and there. There's going to be a person affected here and there. But yeah, we're really pleased with how that worked.
Good.
And we're hoping that that continues, and again, that continues to November when things are going to really ramp up.
Any other questions? Mo, or Commissioner?
Quick question. Mo, you've got on this, on your sheet for the full-time position, you got offset is reimbursements from the state. Is that money we usually get, or is that different money?
All the March presidential preference primaries are reimbursed by the state. That hasn't happened yet. I've got to go plug all those numbers in and get that reimbursement to happen. But yeah, that is something that's going to happen and will happen from this past.
Okay, and that's already
Previous
built,
primary, yeah.
it's already built into your budget, though?
That's, yes, right.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else? Mo, welcome on board. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and thanks again for the donut.
Yeah. Kept you alive till they could get you in the office, didn't it? Yeah.
Thank you all very
All
much.
right, thank you. Next up, we've got the local health department, Carissa. This is Carissa Blackwell. We've got with Carissa and Mo and Ron. So this budget year, we've got some new faces that have come on board, and actually this will be your first budget presentation
This
here.
is my first one.
But we're really very sweet, but so don't worry about it. But
I don't
Carissa-
ask for much.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
try not to. Okay, so I'll just go. I'm Carissa Blackwell, as he mentioned. This is my first budget workshop, so bear with me. So I'll give you a little bit of description of what we do at the health department. Our job is to protect, promote, and improve the health of the residents of Blount County. We offer public WIC, nutrition education, family planning, STI testing. Our breast and cervical screening program is up and running, and it's been very successful. So people who don't have any insurance come in, and if any of their screenings are abnormal, we work to get them set up with TennCare so that we can get them the services that they need. We offer primary care services, so your basic blood pressure, diabetics, and those type people. We service those and maintain their medications and their health moving forward. We have the dental program. We focus more on the uninsured. We see children in this program and some TennCare recipients as well. And we have the community health access and navigation. That's a program, people who are uninsured or on TennCare, and they may need, additional services as far as, we actually helped a kid get a hearing aid. His family was having a hard time. Insurance wouldn't cover it all. They reached out to us. We got him the hearing aid that he needed. And that department works with, if kids need extra formula, if they need diapers, if adults need a place to stay, we work with the Homeless Coalition and, get hotel vouchers so that no one's left out in the cold and things like that. So that falls under our community health access and navigation. So 2 goals that I've had. Some may know if you're from here, some may not, but the Blount County Health Department did take a decrease in staff, like dramatically. I had 2 full-time nurses, 2 full-time registration clerks, and it was pretty bad for the level of patients that we see on a daily here. So when I came in less than a year ago, my goal was to increase staff. I've lived in Blount County all my life, and I never knew what the health department offered. And so another goal of mine was to get more community engagements, get our name back out there a little bit more, because I feel like there are people out there that really need us. One, it takes a lot of pride to step in, but we want to meet people where they're at. Our budget runs a little bit different. Normally when we ask for something, any funds, those are reimbursed by the state. So we have a budget amendment process.
where it is submitted. It starts with the state. Once it's approved there, then I send it over to you all. If you all approve it, if the commissioners approve it, then the state will reimburse. So that's including all of our salaries. I know in July of last year, we went to the DGA contract. So like the building maintenance and things like that, the health department used to maintain those things, but now we switched that over to the county. So that all falls into the DGA contract, which that amount, like I said, anything and under that DGA contract is reimbursed by the state. So since I've been in my role for 11 months, I've increased the clinical staff by 6, increased registration staff by 6. We're actually full in registration. Increased our CHANT, which is our community health and navigation, by 1. Increased our public health educators by 1. Another goal of mine is to get the health department out at least 2 to 3 times a month. We went to Relatives Raising Children at First Baptist Church of Maryville. I myself did a lot of networking there. Found out that there are a whole lot more community resources. So things that we can't provide at the health department, I've created a sheet. We can refer people out to other community programs that we have in Blount County. As you can see, we had the Pellissippi Blount Campus Resource Fair on April 2nd. We have a community baby shower on April 12th, and that's for all new moms, and it doesn't matter if you're uninsured or insured, you can come out, get things for your baby, their babies, and there's just a lot of community resources out there as well. SOS Day is on April 13th. That is a fairly large event. It's sponsored by A Place to Stay, so people that are uninsured or homeless, they can come get their hair cut and receive blood pressure checks, just anything they may need. I'm pretty sure it's something out there for them. On our budget trend, as you can tell at the top for personnel expenses, it took a pretty drastic cut, and that was only because we lost so many employees around 2023. There was a large drop in numbers. This report right here just kind of gives you a breakdown of where our budget is. We have it at $1,392,120. And again, that money is reimbursed by the state. And I am done. Does anybody have any questions?
Krista, do you have open positions now that you need to fill? So when I'm looking at that 22, 23 drop in personnel, so did those people leave and you just haven't filled them? Is that what's?
Yes. So they left the positions. They did not start hiring for the positions until they got me into the role. And so that's what I'm working to do now. We still have 2 RN positions left, 2 CNA positions, and 1 public health educator. I'm supposed to have 2.
But you've got the position there and the salaries.
It's already counted into the
You just gotta
budget.
put a body in.
We just got to put a body in it, yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Carissa?
Okay, thank you.
Carissa, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Next up, Public Library.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to make this short and sweet. We're not asking for anything. We're trying to stay within our budget for this upcoming fiscal year, but here we go. This is our mission statement that has not changed at Blount County Public Library, but it empowers residents to think, act, and aspire by providing opportunities to connect to our community, participate in lifelong learning, and explore the world at large. So here are some of our accomplishments. We had quite a few this current fiscal year, and one of them that is not on there, that I really want to thank the General Services Department, especially Don Stallions and Denny Gardner, We have a brand-new roof on our library, and the project went really smooth. There were a few bumps along the way, but Don and Denny were there to resolve those issues. So I just want to give them thanks for their support, and we'll be working with them for some future projects. The first one is the book return project. We are finally on the go with that. We've had our Board of Trustees and our foundation approve the renderings. Currently, the architect is just tweaking a minor area where the book return is going to go. Once I receive that, it'll go to Charlie in purchasing, and then we'll begin that process. We're really looking forward to getting a book return, an automated book return at the library. The Louisville locker, this has been one of my ideas that I've really wanted to bring to Blount County. We have a large footprint compared to where I came from in Rhode Island. It's basically the size of a state. And the city of Maryville and Alcoa have a really large footprint at our library. And I had a patron come to me that was upset that it took them about 40 to 45 minutes to get to the library. So we were thinking of ways of getting the library to individuals that take the time to drive to our library. And the Louisville locker, it's at the Louisville Town Hall. It's just like a locker you would see at Lowe's or an Amazon locker, where you have patrons place a hold. They can use the app, or they can go online, place the hold specifically for a pickup at the Louisville Town Hall. And one of the staff members would bring the items over there, and the patron can check out their books. So they don't have to come to the library. They're actually going to the town of Louisville. And what's great about that, we also have a return bin. So patrons do not have to drive to the library. They can go to the Louisville Town Hall and return the books there. It's been great. We're open 7 days a week. So Sunday hours, they started in July of last year, and it's been a huge success and turnout. I know our patrons were very happy for us to be open again on Sundays. We've had active attack training, and that is with Corporal Breakbill. The entire staff had active attack training, part 1 and part 2. We're going to continue that with a few other workshops in this upcoming fiscal year during our staff development days. We also have the SARA system that has been implemented at our library. If you're not aware of the SARA system, and I want to thank Don again, and then Justin with IT for getting them on our computers. If there's any incident that warrants police, something, and when I say incident, it's something very critical, very serious. The staff on their computer, they hit basically a panic button on the SARA system, and we're not just going to get one police car, we're going to get a full squadron coming to the library. So we're very grateful and thankful for that. We try to ensure the safety of all our patrons that enter the library. Our Southern Appalachian series has returned, and we had a huge turnout for our first program. We had Dr. Astor from Maryville College speak, and we have one coming up in May on food, which we're looking forward to. We have a beautiful, beautiful abstract in memory of Joy Bishop at the library now. It was unveiled several weeks ago. It's absolutely lovely. I got to meet Joy twice, and I heard so much about her leading up, and she certainly, the hype was there. She was very kind and very generous speaking with me, and I wish I got to know her a lot more. But her memory is at the library, so next time you're at the library, when you enter our rotunda, you'll see it on the left. It's absolutely beautiful. So we're happy about that. We also have an early Tennessee map exhibit, and that was donated by Lamar Alexander. We met with Lamar a couple of months ago. He had showed us these wonderful maps of early Tennessee. So now they are in the meeting room hallway now. So next time you're at the library and you're going down our meeting rooms, number one, look at Joy's statue or sculpture. but then look at the maps as well. They're pretty cool. Our goals, book return project, so that would be the construction of it. So we're looking forward to having that. That will alleviate staff pressure when it comes to checking materials in and out, because as you all know, Blount County is increasing month by month, and we see it with new cards. So this will alleviate some of the workload that our staff have at circulation. So basically, the automated handling system checks the books in and goes down a conveyor belt and then goes right into a bin. So that eases that action for staff, and then they can focus on other things. New card kiosks, and we're going to be working with Justin on this. Again, we're seeing such an increase in residents moving to Blount County that a new card application is taking quite some time, 20, 25 minutes to do that. So our brand new patron services manager, where she came from, they had separate kiosks, kind of like when you go to the airport, you don't have to go right to the desk, you can check in at one of the computers. We're going to be doing that as well for new kiosks. Again, it will just, especially with school ending soon, and we're going to see such a huge increase of new cards. This will help, and again, alleviate the time that staff spend on working on new cards. And then a storybook walk. This was brought to me by our chair of the trustees, Stephanie Thompson. Knox County has 4 storybook walks, and we have none. So we are working with several organizations, getting the first storybook walk at Springbrook Park. It's a tongue twister for me, sorry. It's just at Springbrook Park. Again, we're working with local organizations and having that dream become a reality this upcoming fiscal year. And then you can see the trends for the library. That kind of speaks for itself. Again, I'm not asking for any new positions at all. Where we are now, we have such an amazing crew and talented staff members that we are all working as a team and accomplishing so much that we believe with the new book return project and the new card kiosk, that will help and make the staff's life a little more easier.
Manny, what's the operational, that spike right there from 22 to 23? What was that? Why did operational spike like that? What did we do different?
Yeah.
Is that when we went from COVID hours to back to regular hour? What happened right there, Lonnie?
No, sir. So what you're seeing there is when our maintenance, personnel, and budget moved from our budget to the general services. It can't be removed from our budget wholly due to our maintenance of effort. Okay. So what you're seeing is basically, I think it's 264,000, don't quote me exactly, but that's the general number. It moved the personnel and it took that money from our personnel line as well as from our operation line, put it all into, is it 499, Carrie? Yeah. And that's what we pay our general services out of. So what you're seeing is, you'll notice it should be what you see, the dip in personnel line from the 19 to the 16, okay, is the increase from the 500 to the 800.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Any questions for Manny? Anything? Manny, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, we're gonna take 5 minutes real quick. This time the budget workshop will reconvene, and next up, Blount County Ag Extension, John Wilson.
Good morning, Mayor, Committee. Appreciate the opportunity to visit with you this morning. John Wilson, Director of Blount County Ag Extension Service. Wrong direction.
Well, that was quick, John.
Well, I try to keep it short. What we do, certainly this is our mission, our thrust. We provide education into the publics. We basically take the university out to the communities of Tennessee. And in this case, we're based on local needs, research, and a commitment to improve the quality of life for all Blount Countyans. What sets us apart is, unlike what folks may find on Wikipedia and other internet sources, we deal in research-based education. 5 primary focus areas: ag, natural resources, farm management, gardening, youth development, teaching life skills, family and consumer sciences, nutrition and health education, as well as working with folks that have ideas, value added for farm products to develop some economic opportunities for those folks. Our staff, myself included, we have 9 folks on staff. You can see the programming areas in which they deliver education. How we go about doing it, we incorporate a number of educational methods. We do on-farm visits, was on one earlier this morning, home visits, office visits. We have lots of folks come into our office. We enlist the obviously avenues of social media. We do numerous group meetings. We're privileged to be there at the Operations Center and have some shared meeting space, both indoor and outdoor. We do on-site demonstrations. They're on campus at the Operations Center. We got some gardening demonstrations. We've got honeybee apiary and concert with Blount County government and the Blount County Beekeepers Association. We do numerous classes, camps for both adults and youth, and numerous field days and tours. Just highlighting a few of our current year accomplishments. We've trained numerous master beef producers and also have a master farm manager program, many and assorted master producer programs. These are just a couple of them. These have indicated impact for them economic, a little over $43,000, and of the numerous livestock producers with whom we've worked, we've helped position them for $166,000 in cost share assistance, and they spend that money locally through the ag co-op and other retail units, which translates, as you look at a economic multiplier ratio of 6 to 1, so that's over a little over $1 million in economic activity. And with the addition of a newer coworker, we've got a monthly podcast. We've had a little over 8,000 views currently with that. And then in my wheelhouse, we train numerous master gardener interns. I currently have a class of 24. We're about to graduate them. And they return 40 hours of educational volunteerism for that training that they get. And as you can see, up to date, they've volunteered upwards of close to 8,000 hours in community activity on numerous projects. And there is a value associated with that. It's a little over $20 per hour for each hour volunteer, so it's a little over $200,000 value for there. And then they continue with continuing education to gain additional skills, keep up what they learn about landscaping, insect management, disease management, and so forth, as they visit and work out in the community and help us reach those clientele. And projects, in fact, with the Blount County Library, folks were just here. Our master gardeners, they help to maintain the Shakespeare Gardens there at the library and have installed quite a few projects there in the past. This most recently, early last month, we had our master beef producers out This is where we're at on the Blount farm, learning about herd replacements, animal evaluation. One example of master gardeners, they've landscaped. If you've been to the recycle center lately, you may have noticed these planter boxes. They've done quite a bit of landscaping at the ops center out there and a lot more to do. Youth programs, we've got a lot of contacts with Health Rocks programs in the school. We do both in-school and out-of-school programming, and quite successful horse bowl hippology teams as well in judging. In fact, we got numerous youth that competing in horse judging competition this morning over at Roane State Community College. We incorporate STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math to enhance and complement what the teachers present in the classroom instruction, and coincides with the teaching standards that they adhere to. Youth programs continue there. Natural resources, we've ramped up our shooting sports program with the addition of our most recent staff member, Mr. Ronnie Cowan. Home buyer education, first-time home buyer, co-parenting education. We teach folks, they get certification, and many of these have closed on home purchases, which has resulted in a little over $5 million economic activity as of December 23. Food preservation, we teach canning, freezing, so forth, and as well as child care provider training. We've got 2 nutrition educators that work hand in hand with the judges of courts here in Blount County to help train and provide life skill training for those who have been incarcerated so that they can be better positioned to move back into mainstream society. Our goals for the upcoming year: improve service, we've got demonstrations gardens to come in at the operations center. We're shot for grants and in-kind donations to help offer that. Increase our small farm workshops. We got numerous folks moving in, buying 15, 50, 150 acres. They want to know how to farm. Some have experience, but most are limited to no experience with farm and gardening. And training our master gardeners. Increase our social media presence. We got some folks who are on staff that's much younger than I, and so they're pretty well versed in that. Continuing with our hybrid programming. Enhance our partnerships for monies and grants through the 4-H Foundation and local businesses. And increasing judging team opportunities for our youth, which helps to foster life skills. You've seen from your notations that are available to you, we've asked for an increase in our salaries and benefits so that we can provide merit-based improvements for our staff members who we've kept that static for a couple of years. This is the amount we're asking for there, as well as an increase in operating to get back. We've maintained that for about 13 years when we reduced in 2011. So getting back to that. So those are the total numbers that we're asking. And we do appreciate the support from the county. The state of Tennessee kicks in a significant amount in not equal matching, but in real dollars. We've got almost $3 for every dollar the county currently appropriates. You can see our funding trend. And we very much appreciate this body and the full commission approving the replacement. We were able to recoup a staff member over the past 18 months, so that's helped our outreach, and we're very grateful for that. We still have some needs for our current staff. That's the current year trend. And with that, I've got about 30 seconds of my 10 minutes left that I'll be glad to entertain questions if you have any.
We got questions for John. John, John, on your request for the increase in salary, is that a, does that come from us and then it's reimbursed by the county or by the state? How,
That works. It's not a reimbursement, so if you appropriate this amount, we get a matching, almost a matching amount on the state side. The state, it's across the state of Tennessee, there's matching between the state and the counties, and that ranges from 20% in some counties where it's very rural, they have very little industry, and I've worked in some of those counties, to upwards of 60% matching when you get to the more metropolitan counties. So what happens is if we ask, or if the state gives, let's say the state gives a 3% raise, that's just 3% on the proposed matching would be 48% on salaries and benefits for Tennessee, the state, 52 for Blount County government. So more or less a 50-50. So if the state gives 3%, we get 3% on our state portion of the salary. If the county does not approve, we get 0. If we go 2 or 3 years like that, we get a little bump on basically half of our salary, and we stay static on the county side. The desired is that, you know, the state likes for us over a course of a couple of years to be able to get the county to make available an appropriate percentage rate that matches that. And some years it can happen and some years it doesn't. Does that answer?
Yeah, so right now you say it's at 48, 52, is that what you said it is? Or what's
right
on that?
48 and 52, since we've not asked for, nor the county's given any merit increases. I've not asked for any merit increases for staff in the last couple of years. So actually, as the state has given some bumps, the state is actually giving anywhere from 50 to 53, 54% of our salaries and benefits. And the county currently, as it stands, is down around 48, 49%, kind of an inverse. So if this amount we request is approved, what that will accomplish will bring the state and county back in alignment where the state's contributing 48% of salaries and benefits, the county 52%. And then beyond that, our current year, our budget was $297 and change. State of Tennessee appropriated about $742,000. That's salaries and benefits, travel, publications, et cetera, specialist support through the states. So that's the model all across the state, but it depends upon the assessments local. Obviously, Blount County is different from Knox and different from Monroe County and so forth as far as the tax base in the county. So therein lies the differences on what is expected or proposed percentage contribution.
Okay. Any other questions for John? You have one, Brian?
Could I ask just one point of clarification, John, on the merit increase and the equity increase? Is your minimum 3% for everyone and some people up to 7%? Or could some people get the 3% and the 7% and be up to 10%?
No, it would be a 3% merit and cost of living, and that's for only employees who have an acceptable or higher performance review, and we conduct those every year.
Okay, so
in the state, in the governor's budget and through Tennessee Higher Education Commission, UT, they are proposing to provide a 3% increase on the state side. So that's, so we're asking for an equal on the county side. Now the 7% are for those who have an exemplary, high performing individuals. There's a couple of those staff members.
So they would get one or the other?
Yeah, they will, right, it's one or the other, not a both.
Thank you.
Right. Good question.
Thank you, John.
If I may, let me make a commercial plug. If you've not been to our offices or out to the office, one example of our Master Gardener volunteers, a week from tomorrow, Saturday week on April 13, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., our Master Gardeners will be out in force at Plant Show and Sale. They do numerous projects on site landscaping. So we'll be having, historically, the last few years, we'll have between 400 and 500 people from the general public coming out that day that we'll be shuttling around to tour the gardens and activities. So if you have opportunity, we'd welcome you to come out and see folks in action. And again, want to thank you for making available, getting us caught up on our staff member over the past 18 months. I appreciate your time and audience this morning.
John, will you get something, get a flyer to Amy so we can get that on our website on that?
Yes, sir.
Event? Okay.
Will do.
All right. Thank you, John. All right. Next up, soil conservation. Eric.
Good morning, Mayor Mitchell, members of the Budget Committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you this morning. For the record, my name is Eric Henry with the Blount County Soil and Water Conservation District. My role for this morning is to give you a brief overview of district programming, including some of our accomplishments. I will also be presenting an additional request. So, the goal of the Conservation District is to sustain and improve the natural resources within Blount County. And last year, 2023, that was the 70th anniversary of the district. And we're looking ahead for putting conservation on the ground for the next 70 years, let alone the next 200 years. That's how far out we're looking at some of these things. We deliver conservation programming in one of two ways. Number one, we provide technical assistance for a wide range of natural resource issues. And number two, we secure grant funding to implement on-the-ground conservation practices. And for fiscal year 23, we secured just over 1.4 million in grant funding. Currently, I am the only full-time employee for the district. My colleague, our watershed scientist, Dr. Julie Conkle, she accepted a position at Maryville College this past fall. However, she still works for the district on a part-time basis, and then when Maryville College is out of session for the summer months, she'll be back to full-time status. And that's actually turned into a pretty good partnership because now we're tapping into the resources that Maryville College has to offer, and we're actually expanding upon some of the programming that Dr. Conkle and I have been discussing for several years now. The bulk of our workload is in regard to the implementation of agricultural best management practices. And on that note, a new practice that we implemented last year was an aluminum bridge culvert. Historically, we have implemented dozens upon dozens of Ford-style crossings. And those Ford-style crossings, they work well, but they don't work well in all situations. The advantage of an aluminum bridge culvert, number one, they restore stream flows. They do not impede water flow like a round culvert does. And we do not install round culverts unless we have no other choice. Other advantages, they can decrease upstream flooding from a wildlife, aquatic wildlife habitat perspective. They help restore that habitat. We are the first district in the state to implement an aluminum bridge culvert. Been pushing this for well over a decade now. Finally got our engineers to sign off on them, and we have 3 more planned here in Blount County, and I'm happy to say region-wide, thanks to our engineers, which work across 36 counties. I think they've got 8 to 10 of these things planned at this point. So this has been a beneficial practice for us. Other practices we are involved in, we saw an uptick from our client base in regard to those that want to install rain gardens, but especially native meadows. A lot of our newer residents, maybe those that purchased these 5-acre tracts, they are discovering that they do not want to mow or pay to have someone to mow the entirety of that 5 acres. So converting part of that fescue lawn into a native meadow, that benefits them. Obviously, it also benefits specific songbird and pollinator species. We also implemented a watershed learning laboratory. This is now, we've been working on this for a few years. Our laboratory is now fully functional. This laboratory provides hands-on learning for K through 12 students. We can also do advanced soil, water, and forage testing. So a lot of this testing we can now do in-house as opposed to contracting it out. And we've got 2 interns from Maryville College lined up this summer to help run this watershed learning laboratory. Our goals for fiscal year 25 continue existing programming, but our ultimate goal is to create a position, that of a bioforester. This position would combine the aspects of a certified biologist and a certified forester. Their primary role would be to implement stormwater best management practices on agricultural and suburban landscapes. They would be involved in forest management as well as agroforestry and several other programming initiatives. Why do we need a bioforester position? I've got 2 more slides to show you before we get to that. Let's see. Okay, that was taken out. Very good. I'm sorry, this is a little bit different from the version I had. But I'll go over this. This additional request, Dr. Conkle and I worked on a position description for a bioforester for several months. We had conversations with more than one biologist, more than one forester. I spoke to the former state biologist that is now detailed out to Washington, D.C. And so we came up with a position description that we submitted to the HR department. Once you include salary, payroll taxes, and benefits, this would be a total request amount of over $96,000. Again, this would be a new position. Current operations, our operations now without this added position, you call me today, you're going to be on my to be contacted list for 4 months. I don't like that. My board of supervisors especially does not like it, but that is the reality. In years past, when we have had to secure a forester to come out to give some specialized assistance, it has taken them up to 2 years just to show up. So we need a bioforester in-house. If the position is not funded, I expect our wait time to go up to 6 months and possibly a year. That's just the amount of interest in our programming at this point. And technical assistance, it will be delayed for critical natural resource issues that our clientele call upon us to deliver. So again, why do we need such a position? In my opinion, Blount County has entered into a state of what is called peri-urbanization. This is a fragmentation of land use classifications. They are often a mix of different ecotones. An ecotone is a transition zone between biological communities. The aerial photograph that I have on the map there, I took a map of Blount County, I zoomed in on it, and this is the first thing that popped up. It's like me throwing a dart at a dartboard. And I thought, that's a pretty good example. In the upper left-hand corner, what I'm classifying as rural or agricultural lands, in this context, 15 acres or more. That's historically the bulk of the landscapes that we deal with. We can do a lot of good on those landscapes. The box in the lower right-hand corner, what I am calling developing lands, in this context, anywhere from 3/10 of an acre or smaller, up to about an acre in size. We also deliver assistance to those landscapes. But if you have a parcel that is 2/10 of an acre in size with a house on it, now we're pretty limited to what we can do from a natural resources perspective. It's the suburbanizing landscapes that take the most complexity in regard to natural resource programming. From what I'm seeing, at least from our client base, if they have between 2 to 14 acres, they all have an agricultural component. They definitely have a biological component, and they may have a forested component to those landscapes. So again, the complexity of that planning drastically increases. So how does peri-urbanization actually affect our programming? I ran a comparison of current district programming for January through February of this year compared to 10 years ago, back in 2014. So back in 2014, the pie chart on your left, the brown there, the 6.3%, that was our active client base in regard to forested lands. Jump ahead 10 years, that has now more than doubled. In regard to agricultural lands, back in 2014, approximately 73% was our client base, but that doesn't tell the whole story because much of that client base also overlaps into that biological category. In 2014, we still have a very healthy agricultural category, but you might as well overlap the bulk of that biological category with those agricultural lands. So again, we have this fragmented, complex landscape that requires some specialized expertise. Also, our client base just within that time frame has increased by 50%. Our budget trends, those are kind of self-explanatory. They have largely remained flat. Our current budget is approximately $222,000. However, of that amount, the district supplies $36,701 in grant-acquired funding to supplement those salaries. In other words, the Blount County government, your portion of that $222,000 is approximately $185,000. In this budgetary table, for 2025, the budget would be $184,000. That decrease is attributed to Dr. Conkle's part-time work as well as some of her full-time work. But her full-time employment will not include any benefits. If the position of a bioforester was approved, the district would be prepared to maintain that grant-acquired funding of $36,000 plus. We also have the potential to increase that. How much of an increase? I don't know yet. I still need to work on that on my end, but I can get you an answer on that in relatively short order. This is in my career with the district, I guess I've been here 22, 23 years. This will be my first time submitting an additional request. If I did not think the position of bioforester was critical to the district or critical to Blount County, I would not do so. Appreciate your consideration. Be glad to answer any questions about the bioforester position or anything in regard to our programming.
Do I have any questions from this?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
Just out of curiosity, under your 23, 24 accomplishments, the aluminum bridge culvert, are those private property bridges? Or are these public road bridges?
No, not 99% of our programming is strictly on private land.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I was looking at a relationship with the highway department, but it's all private bridges.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Eric, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, Industrial Development Board. Brian, Bruce, Brian.
I've got some handouts, if that's okay. Appreciate being before you all today. What you're all getting handed out is the year-end review that you all see each year of the accomplishments of the overall organizations that includes the Industrial Development Board. For us, as far as new projects, we're really a continuation of ongoing construction in this year's budget is what we have. What you will see in our continuation budget is we're still under construction on 2 greenways, both of which were commitments to the companies and their expansions. Denso's $1 billion investment they made and making sure that they're connected in the greenway. And then of course, Smith & Wesson's over $120 million investment. Those projects have been awarded and we are continuing construction. As far as new activities for this year, there's really not much of anything except we are opening up the urban core of Pellissippi Place. As you all may recall, that project's been delayed, one because of TDOT will not allow us to sell technology properties because of the new realignment of the right-of-way, and we're waiting on them to reimburse us for those costs. But then on the urban core that was always designed, we've been waiting as we work through the bankruptcy of the former creditors of the developer that was going to do that. We were able to get those assets, and we're now teamed with the developer out of Nashville. And you've seen in the press that we are locating a $100 million phase 1 project, which will create additional residential living opportunities that were planned in the park, and then also some commercial activities. So those are straight transactions, so there is no tax abatement. So that's all new revenue into the community. As Smith & Wesson's, the revenue starting to roll in there, and then all the Amazon projects. Of course, Amazon had no tax abatement, and you're seeing all that revenue starting to roll in. We are working on one additional new project that the mayor saw a presentation from the 134th Cirrus Aircraft and Standard Aero, and that's standing up an aviation academy for students that want to go get their A&P license to be aircraft mechanics. Those average salaries are between $85,000 and $100,000 a year. The max that we can have in a class is roughly 25 students per freshman, sophomore, junior, those cohorts. But we're trying to stand that up in collaboration with the companies that are located here, plus the 134th, and Pellissippi State is going to be the instructor over that. So that gives us additional opportunities. Instead of you're destined to work in automotive or primary metals, you have an opportunity to be in aviation. And as we saw in a presentation, 134th could fill a class now, and that's a concern they have of making sure they've got enough military folks to keep the airframes flying that they have. So we're in constant conversations as we work on workforce development issues. And you all have used us historically in the past as a conduit to invest in those initiatives in workforce development. You all invested through us with the Pellissippi State Workforce Development Center. You all, the cities in the county, all created seed money in which private money was raised. And much the same with this aviation academy. So that's really it. We're just a continuation of the construction and projects that we've already announced and trying to bring those to closure. Any questions?
Any questions for Brian? You got one?
We've been happy with the revenue that's been coming out of the industrial parks. You're receiving more revenue than expenses, and it's nice to see. So we try to grow the tax base, so y'all got money to put in other places.
Brian, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, Blount County Schools,
Okay.
Superintendent
Thank you.
David Merle.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Budget Committee. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is Blount County Schools. Very proud to represent the Board of Education, the entire Blount County Schools community here before you. I'm not sure how to read. We're always last. I'm not quite sure why, Mayor, but there's a reason. Is it the questions or, the amount of the budget, I'm sure, but we always seem to end up last. But glad to be here with you to represent this. Our mission is to graduate.
Save the best for last.
That is right. Yeah, I know. Save the best for last. Our mission is graduating students equipped to achieve excellence. That's a 13-year mission. We take students from preschool, kindergarten, all the way through 12th grade and prepare them all along the way so they can graduate equipped to achieve excellence. Just some highlights from this year: a 93.4% Tennessee graduation rate, very competitive rate for a rural suburban setting like Blount County Schools. Very proud of that and continue to build on that every year in our high schools. 18.9 ACT composite, continuing to work on that. Our goal to 2029 is a 21, which is a key number in the state on goals, so we're working toward that. 26 advanced placement courses, so students taking college courses while they're in high schools. 34 career technical education programs of study. It's hard to touch that in this region. We provide a lot of career technical pathways for students to be anything they want to be in their adult life. 33 reward schools since 2012, since the state started that designation. 7 times a level 5 district, which is the highest level for growth in students. Since 2012, we were in exemplary districts twice in that period of time, of 2012 and 2017. We currently have, as of the development of this presentation, 10,117 students. That changes every day and changes as I'm speaking to you. So with that many students and that many schools, we always have students enrolling and moving as well. 1,730 employees, approximately. We're the 3rd largest employer in Blount County. We are Blount County Strong. That is our motto, and we do that by building relationships with our students, staff, communities, families. We control our focus on what is most essential to student learning, and then we sow seeds of opportunities so students can graduate equipped to achieve excellence. Some highlights from fiscal year 23-24 accomplishments. We are an advancing district. The highest level in the state's exemplary, so we're the 2nd level. There's 5 levels, so we're proud of that and proud of the work of our schools. We are a level 5 growth district. And we also had 9, which is almost half of our schools, as level 5 growth schools, so very proud of them. We also have a designation in the state of reward schools. We had 6 schools this year, which is the most in the history of the state having the reward school designation. So we're proud of William Blount High School, Heritage High School, Carpenters Elementary, Fairview Elementary, Porter Elementary, and Samuel Everett School of Innovation for becoming reward schools in the state of Tennessee. Our 24-25 goals based on our strategic plan is continue to improve English language arts and math scores on the TCAP and under effective instruction, and equipping students, increasing our Ready Graduate status. So Ready Graduate captures a lot of things like CTE programming, post-secondary opportunities, and things of that nature, ACT, so students are equipped for post-high school. And then under excellent culture, competitive pay for our teachers. As we've mentioned to this group before, the state has set a goal of $50,000 beginning teacher salary summer of 2026. We would like to move that quicker and not be the lowest paid district in the state of Tennessee in the summer of 2026. So you will see some of that information in our presentation. Increase the number of minority educators in Blount County Schools to more closely represent the percentage of minority students in Blount County Schools. So we're working toward that, have a lot of initiatives and efforts in that area, and also continue safe and well-equipped facilities that you all help us with in use of 141, fund balance, and Fund 177. So those are our goals. So I'm going to start out going into our general purpose school fund, which is the largest fund in the school budget. So I will step through these pieces. So if you look, we'll start at the very top, total fiscal year 23-24 Fund 141 appropriations budget of $122,155,800. So if you look at key increases that are in our request for the fiscal year 24-25 appropriations budget, we'll start under compensation and benefits. This is always the biggest part of our budget, as we have 83 to 85% at any given time goes into salary and benefits. So it's always going to be the largest portion. So if you look there into certified compensation, a base salary of $50,000 on the teacher salary, and that came through a memorandum of understanding with our Teachers Association. And our board management team came to agreement on a salary schedule, and that number matches that schedule, $5,213,000. Classified compensation, so we aligned with the county compensation study on all of our classified staff last summer. So this will be just adding a 1.4% on the base and a step for $340,000. Our transportation team recommendation for next year is a 5% raise on our bus transportation at $456,000. We also will be picking up nurses. They have been funded through ESSER, federal grants, and a supplementary grant to ESSER for the last 3 years. So we're pulling all of them back in. So the additional amount to pull all of them in above what we have budgeted is $575,000. Under operating costs, general liability, minor increase there. That rate is set by the county of $68,000. Software licenses, we have a lot of software licenses in business office, in human resources, academics, and those costs increase every year. So that's $111,000. Capital outlay on HVAC, this amount of $400,000 was previously paid for from ESSER for the last 3 years. So we'll be bringing the HVAC repairs and replacements into the general fund. Grants and TCRI rate increase, kind of breaking that out a little bit. I'll give you a little bit of details on that. So the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System increase for certified staff is around $225,000. And then we have a state summer school grant, an additional $400,000, a state preschool grant of $250,000, and a lot of miscellaneous additions and cuts from a lot of different accounts of $52,895. So that's what makes up that $927,895. So the total appropriations request for next year is $130,246,695. So we'll move into the revenue portion of Fund 141. So the key increases and decreases. The estimated increase of TISA revenues, $2,235,000. We were hoping more for that, more than that, because we knew what the teacher compensation piece was going to cost. But that is what we have right now. We will receive, that is the February estimate, so the board approved our budget based on the February estimate. So we have received our March estimate, so that is not up here. Thankfully, it has gone up. We hope it stays up. We'll also get an April estimate and a May estimate. So when we get the May estimate, we will base our 141 budget based on that number for next school year. So that is a typical process, even with BEP, the former funding formula, you would get a monthly update until May. So that's not changed. So we will adjust that through the summer. Estimated increase, just natural increase in property tax revenues of $302,000. Estimated decrease in sales tax revenue. If you remember last year, our budget was balanced on 7.5% sales tax. We're nowhere close to that. I think it's under 3, but we went ahead and projected out through June 30 and then did 3% growth on that amount, but that is a whole of $720,000. All other revenues, including grants for fiscal year 24-25 of $124,462,000. I think that is that correct? Yeah, I think that's correct. And then, so the total revenue budget for 141 is $126,279,000 for a shortfall of $3,967,695, which primarily is based on the teacher compensation piece. So we'll go into fiscal year 24-25 capital planning. So this is Fund 141, use of fund balance, and I'm going to have to I'm having trouble seeing that up there, so I'm going to pull my copies out. And put my glasses on, here we go. Okay, so Fund 141, this is fund balance. So use of fund balance for next year. So we're going to look at the 24-25 column. This is a 5-year plan, so you can kind of see some things we have planned through that. And if we're able to meet with you individually, we can certainly dig into this a little bit more before your budget meeting in May. But we'll start with the column, the estimate of 24-25 expenditures out of Fund 141. So we have 3 gym floor replacements at Fairview, Middle Settlements, and William Blount Ninth Grade Academy. You'll also see some things kind of in a greenish blue, teal color there. We have some secure entries we're going to be doing at Carpenters Middle, Union Grove Middle, Fairview, and Townsend, but we're using a Safe Schools grant. So we originally had it kind of plugged in here, thought we'd be using 141 fund balance, but that'll be a Safe Schools grant to fund that. So go on to the next page here. We have 17,500 in copiers. You see a little bit further down, 350,000 for furniture, mainly CTE furniture at William Blount High School. And then we, after we do the renovation, and also the unit replacement and repairs for HVAC of 550,000. You move to the next page. We had, when we did the turf fields at William Blount Heritage, we also bid the tracks, and they are in need of repairs. So that bid right now is a $550,000 for each. So we'll be working on with purchasing, if this budget passes, on that process. Bleachers at Middle Settlements Elementary, we do the floor, and also visitor football bleachers at Heritage High School. And that number there is for the infrastructure of the concrete pad. We received a donation from the University of Tennessee for the bleachers. And then a facility study of all of our facilities. We estimated $75,000, but we'll go through purchasing on that final number. We have architecture and engineering fees, contingency fees, and then we have a note payable, principal and interest for Eagleton Academy. That is the third payment on Eagleton Academy. We have 9 more payments after this year. That also includes an energy savings capital outlay from the county. So you'll see it drops down in 26-27. And then that would only be Eagleton Academy at that point. So that number is $1,364,798. For a total at the bottom, this is Fund 141 fund balance, which can only be used for one-time expenditures of $4,422,298. We'll move into Fund 177. So we appreciate the county's commitment, Fund 177. It's been such a difference maker in our schools. Early on, many roofs that needed to be done. Now, based on the additional amount to that William Blount Heritage remodel, and those projects are going very well, and certainly appreciate your support of that and continued support. So you'll see in this there, the first 7, 8 projects there are for William Blount Heritage, and you'll see things for Heritage High, Wing 2 upstairs, LED lights, paint, and lockers removed. Second floor at William Blount, LED lights, paint, and lockers removed. Both theaters, the auditoriums there, will curtains, lighting, sound, seating. They've not been touched in almost 50 years, so be a redo of those. Converting the planetarium at Heritage High School to classroom space, common area restrooms at both high schools, and ADA accessible seating at the football stadiums. So you'll see amounts for each of those. We'll turn to the next page. We have an LED lighting replacement plan across the district, and we're seeing a lot of energy savings from that. So we have 3 areas we're working on next year: Heritage Middle, Central Office, and Eagleton Academy will be on the LED lighting plan for that year. If you move a little bit further down, our roofing plan, we have 3 roofs we'll be doing next year, or plan to do: Walland Elementary, Carpenters Middle, and Eagleton Academy, the old portion of Eagleton Academy, none of the new construction, obviously. If you move a little bit further down, our HVAC section, so $700,000 to replace HVAC at William Blount 9th grade Academy, $375,000 for Union Grove Middle, $375,000 for Heritage Middle, and $25,000 for Samuel Everett. Those are, I apologize, those are HVAC controls. So the first part was replacement at William Blount 9th grade Academy. Look at the next page. We have a fire intruder and freezer alarm system at Carpenters Middle that needs to be replaced based on a fire marshal assessment of the school. So that's for $450,000. And we also have flooring across the district, moving away from carpet to polished concrete or LPV of $100,000 budgeted, and that will go to various schools throughout the district. Look on the last page, architecture and engineering fees and contingency fund. And then you'll see that same capital outlay note for Eagleton and the energy savings at capital outlay, because we pay it out of 177. So if the funds come from 141 fund balance, but it's paid through 177. So for a total capital projects budget of $9,006,000. I was not planning to go into detail on Fund 143 and 146. Those are self-funded programs. 143 is our school nutrition program. The only obligation the board has out of that fund is to pay any charges at the end of the year, which they do each spring. And 146 is our after-school program, and that is all funded through grants and then parent payments for tuition for the students. So I'm glad to take any questions about those as well, but I don't have those in the presentation. So that concludes my portion, so I'll be open to any questions that you all might have.
Does any of the committee have questions for Superintendent?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I was wondering, on the first page where we have the summary recap, and we're talking about the compensation for certified teachers and classified compensation. So when we're talking about certified teachers, how many total do we have in the county?
883 people fall in that category.
And
that's all certified. That is teachers, principals, any kind of administrator as well. Okay. So anyone who has a teaching license with the state of Tennessee fall in that category.
Okay. How many are classroom teachers?
800 and it's minus through, so 883 minus the number of administrators, which is about 50. So it'll be 833 around.
Classroom teachers.
Yes. Now let's drill down into classroom teachers, because we have regular classroom teachers who are what we would call homeroom teachers. Okay, so a school would have this many homeroom teachers, but you also have requirements for response to intervention. You also have students with disabilities in their classroom services, students for whom English is a second language, speech language pathologists, psychologists, people who don't necessarily have homerooms are in that number too. So are you wanting to know just ones that have homeroom classes, or?
No, I'm talking about those who are actually teaching.
Okay. We can find that number for you as far as, but we have a lot of categories. There's librarians too, that are a category of employees. So there's a lot of different categories, but all of them have licenses with the state of Tennessee. So that's why we call them certified, so.
Okay. That's all I got.
Anything? Commissioner?
David, I wanted to, before I ask my question, I wanted to commend you on level 5 growth and reward schools. I think people overlook level 5 whenever, that's a big deal. So I want to congratulate you on that. Can you talk to me on the 141 budget a little bit about, you or Christy, about the grants line item? Because I see that on appropriations. And I was just wondering, should there be a corresponding revenue line for those? Can you just explain how that works?
So you're referring to the state summer school grant and the state preschool grant. Okay, so the state preschool grant has the same revenue piece on the bottom. So they're 250,000. So theirs is not broken out, Christy. I think that's why. We have a revised version of this that we can get that to you, the revised version of what you're asking. So it kind of, some feedback we got when we went through the first budget process was to break that number down. Right now yours says green, so that's broken down in TCRS rate increase, state summer school grant, and state preschool grant, and then a small amount for additions and cuts in different line items.
Okay.
But there's a, go ahead, Christy. Yeah.
Mr. Anderson, the revenue itself is in that line item at the very bottom that says total other revenues, including grants.
Okay, so it's already reflected in that one?
Mm-hmm, it is.
Okay.
Well, the total is, but I was reconciling last year's appropriated budget to this year, and that's the increase in those grants. So like the summer school grant's an increase of 400,000, but it's an actual grant for 1.3 million. So the 1.3 is down here in the revenues. And so I'm reconciling the appropriations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay. As far as the nurses line item, I know those were, before ESSER came along, those were just part of the general budget.
Yes.
And my understanding is a lot of those were part-time positions before ESSER, and then ESSER came along and they were moved into ESSER, and now they're full-time.
Yes.
How many of those positions are filled? Are they all filled?
They're all filled, yes. Okay. Currently. Let's hope we can keep it that way.
Yeah. All right, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Okay.
Excuse me, David, I do have one more.
You're fine, no problem.
When we're talking about TISA
Yes.
revenues, refresh my memory on how that formula works. Is it not by student?
It is a
So
student.
it's a fixed amount per student?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And if I heard you correctly earlier, you said this number is lower than you expected. Did we have a loss in students somewhere along the line?
No, we just anticipated information we were getting from we have about, the state will throw out numbers in the fall just to kind of before they get their budget going. So when you look at Blount County Schools, we have about 1% of the students in the state of Tennessee. There's 1 million students, or a little over. We have about 1% of them with 10,000, right around 10,000 students. So you kind of do some math and kind of figure, we might get this much based on what the state's saying they're going to put into the TISA formula. So we were anticipating a little bit higher. Our ADM is up funding to funding year about 15 students. So we're about statistically pretty flat. I mean, 15 students when you have almost 10,000 kids is flat mathematically. So, but we were anticipating a little bit higher, which we were hoping that could go toward our teacher's salary a little bit more. So, but it came in lower than we anticipated.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, one other question. I just
Yes,
thought.
sir.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
On the certified compensation, I know we're trying to get everybody to 50,000. How many right now are under 50,000, and what is the number, just ignoring compression issues and other issues, what is the number to get anyone under 50,000 to 50,000 in certified?
Okay. I don't have that figure with me. Would you be able to? Yeah, we'll just have to bring that to you. Okay. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Number of people that are now paid below 50,000. Yeah. So I'm hoping we can meet individually with you. I've made that request of the mayor's office if we could so we will have that information for you so you'll know what would it cost to get the people under 50 to 50. But the way the structure works, you have people who are at 50, and how everyone's going to get some raise. We can't pay them less than the year before, so everyone has to move some. So this just rescales the whole thing and compresses it. You didn't ask about compression, so you said no. But,
ignoring.
But our model that we came to compressed it more than it is right now. So, in order to afford it, to be quite honest. So,
okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Just parting here, I have some great people behind me. I encourage you, we have our Principals Advisory Council and some other leaders in the district and our leadership staff. We are open for any questions. Christy and I are both, but they are as well. I encourage you to get out into our schools. We do the education committee at a different school every month. We do strategic planning action tours, so we'll show you anything you want to see. Our principals, they help me lead the 16th largest district in the state of Tennessee, and they're key to this work. They know what it takes to fill classrooms. They know the recruitment and retention issues we face as a district. They can testify to that. So I ask that you try to talk to some of them over the next few weeks as you're making the decisions. And I appreciate them being here with me today. So,
thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Before we break with the committee here, we'll start scheduling the meetings for.
Our intention would be to start scheduling meetings as early as next week.
Okay.
And they'll continue while we build out this budget all the way up until the 1st of May.
Yeah. We've in the last two sessions, we've had quite a bit put in front of us, and I just want to, we've got millions of dollars that are being asked for, and we've got right now our revenue is below $1 million on property tax right now. Our sales tax is 3.5%, and am I being luxurious on that?
No, right now it's sitting year to date 3.8.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is there is not a pot of money here that we've got to disperse. And my feelings right now is I'm not going to raise taxes. I will not vote to raise taxes, but we have a lot of of ask from all departments. I'm not, every department, well, not all of them. Some have maintained, but if you put the ones that have asked together, it's millions of dollars. So we got a lot to work on, and we got a lot to think about for this budget year. There's not an abundant supply of money. And whether that's something you all as a commission want to start thinking about as far as taxes, so be it. I don't think it'll come out of this committee in any way, form, or fashion to raise taxes. So that's just to get you thinking, because we're getting ready to have a lot of meetings and make a lot of decisions here. So I just want you to be thinking about what the consequences are. So with that being said, seeing nothing else, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Move to adjourn.